Hello and welcome to Ultra Q episode 13. My name is Red. I am joined by Mel.
Can't wait to watch a Blazer in 10 years.
Yeah, and Razan.
Hello. I turned my Wish Rock into 3 really banger episodes of Ultraman for us to enjoy this week.
Hell yeah, coming up, more Loch Ness Monster content. A very strange rock falls from space, and Ultraman finally reveals how Hayata shows up at the end of every episode. 3 good episodes of Ultraman this week. But first, I have come with news from the 2000s.
Oh no, the past.
Yeah, the past. I strapped on my Pith helmet and went down. And I've returned with news. Azumanga Diaoh is pretty good. It's just a good 4-coma manga series. I like it. It's like activating like I don't read much 4-coma stuff, so it's activated a nostalgia part of my brain where I'm like, oh yeah, webcomics. I read webcomics back in the day.
Me too.
But I don't think... I think perhaps an uncontroversial opinion, Azumanga Diaoh better than questionable content. It's just good. I think I always find it funny visiting stuff like this where the characters have like a big presence in like culture, and so reading Azumanga Diaoh and discovering what Osaka is actually like compared to what the fan base focuses on is like, oh okay, that's funny.
This is like me with the ending to Mega Man Legends 2.
Yes. Yes. That I don't really have much to say about Azumanga Diaoh. The characters are funny. It's a funny comic. I think that one teacher could be in the dude who's horny for high school girls. He could be in the manga less, but
He could also be in jail.
But it's a funny comic. On a related note, and I promise this is going somewhere. My favorite YouTube video is called "This is Osaka from Azumanga Diaoh." Has been for a very long time, and the point it's just like a short slideshow, a very cursed slideshow of just images of Osaka with extremely strange transitions and effects, set to Paralyzer. And it's ridiculous, and it's like, okay, this is a pretty funny shitpost. And then you look at when it was uploaded. No, it's not. It was uploaded in 2010. Every choice in this was sincere. Someone was like, I'm gonna make something cool, something I can be proud of, and I'll put it up on the internet for people to see and judge. And irony can be deployed artfully, but unfortunately, sincerity has it beat in terms of raw power, which is why the original Command and Conquer blows Red Alert 3 out of the fucking water. It's not that the people, because it's the funny FMV game, but it's not that the people making it don't know that this is kind of silly. They know it, but they're not like winking at the camera. There is a degree to which they take it seriously that is so much cooler, and so, it makes it funnier, and also you can engage with it somewhat seriously as well, in a way that, like, Tim Curry corpsing in the middle of his iconic line about going to space, and, the people making the game being like, yeah, that's good enough, everyone knows the game's funny, put it in the thing. No! Don't make him do it again. Make him take it seriously. It will be, 1, it will be funnier, and 2, it will just be better. I can't believe how much I've come around on just like thinking Red Alert 3 kind of sucks now. I'm just like, this could be every scene with. I've only played the GDI campaign so far, but every scene with Kane, who is the leader of the Brotherhood of Nod, which is the other faction in the game, every scene with Kane in it is so incredible. Matt, I can see why this game became like a beloved franchise and, groundbreaking. if I could be bothered, I would maybe go back and play the Dune games that are the kind of progenitor of
I think it's
Command and Conquer.
Wait, is there a through line between those two?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, Dune 2, which is like the progenitor of the RTS genre, was made by a studio whose name I forget, and then those exact same guys made Command and Conquer by control effing the nouns to be like, hey, we need to make our own IP.
This is so funny because I went through kind of like a Dune game kick when that movie adaptation was coming out for the first half. And I played quite a bit. I never beat the first one, and I liked it quite a bit just in terms of like a cultural artifact. And I knew that Dune 2 was like the big like pioneer for a lot of RTS conventions, but I never thought to look at what those people made afterwards. So that's very funny.
Yeah.
So like Command and Conquer setup is there is one resource that you gather, and it's this strange green rock called Tiberium.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing where I was expecting it to just be spice. It's much different. It lands from space, and it's like an invasive species. In terms of like fauna, it like grows from the ground, and it's ruining the earth. And it's it's honestly pretty cool.
I can see the through line with Dune, because in Dune the spice is made from like, I guess, the droppings from the sandworms, and also the sandworms require like desert to live, so there's like an element of like, oh, we have to in like spoilers, in like Chapter House Dune, they're like, oh, we gotta make a new spice planet, so we're gonna drop the sandworms and desert this planet.
There's all but then there's like the idea of like the difference between that being like kind of native flora and fauna in the like of the planet Arrakis, where it's like it's a desert, like it's a desert planet, and it should be a desert planet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's actually like a plot point in some later books. But anyway,
I have to read more.
I also need to also do
God
that.
Emperor is fucking insane.
Nice.
Heretics in Chapter House also insane for different reasons.
I have heard, but the whole Tiberium thing, it lands in Italy near the River Tiber. That's how it gets its name, and then it spreads like an invasive species, and it gets used to fund the war between GDI and Nod, and it's a whole thing. It's honestly pretty cool. I'm a big fan. I'm playing last week I was like, is it going to be difficult to play this old video game? And then I looked up, it's like, EA made it freeware. It's fine. You can just download it. It's for free. Legally. You can just do that. So that was nice. Got it working, and I'm having a very good time.
Imagine if like all companies that made RTS games did that with like when they made a remaster, as opposed to delisting the original and also the remaster being worse.
It would be good. I can't believe I'm giving EA credit on anything.
Listen, when the competition is a Blizzard.
Yeah, this is true. God, that Warcraft 3 shit was so fucked up.
Don't worry, guys. It's going to be fine when Microsoft absolutely is allowed to buy them, and it's definitely going to go through. No, seriously, it's really going to happen. It's really all good. Everything is going fine. That's what the game journalists are telling me.
But yeah, I haven't really done much else this week. So yeah, that's me. I didn't even watch Oshinoko. I failed.
Damn. That's okay. That just means you have more to enjoy, question mark.
It's nice. It's okay. Yeah. We'll talk about it again in episode 22.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I can go. So, I finally finished Blood Plus. I have a massive amount of egg on my face because the last time I checked in with everyone about Blood Plus on this podcast, I went, yeah, it's okay. And I think I even
it's
said
still
something.
Okay, right?
No.
Yeah, it's still, it continued being good. Immediately after you said that, it continued being good.
Yep, exactly. I think I even had said something akin to, it's warming up to me a little bit. Immediately, the next day, I want to say, me and my friends watched more, and we got to the end of Arc 1, I guess you want to call it. About 2/3 of the way through the show, there is a time skip of about a year. And, hey, huge warning for anyone watching this show. The thing that causes the time skip to happen is the villainess of the show hunting down and raping and killing a child. Horrible. Honestly, terrible. One of the most egregiously bad, fridging of a character in, a overbearingly traumatic way to, fuel character motivation I've ever seen. Jaw was just kind of on the floor along with everyone else watching along, and the people that had seen the show were like, yeah, it's not great. Jesus Christ. That scene alone brought the series, my opinion of the series down from where it otherwise would be, which I think genuinely, this show is so close to being a 7 out of 10, but it just cannot escape being a 5. They do some cool stuff with the post-time skip that I actually do like a lot. Some characters become alcoholics that just don't want to have anything to do. Some people switch sides. Some characters take the time to grow up and become cool vampire hunter people. And then they all come together and kind of reflect on their shared trauma over this obviously very horrible situation. And decide that they need to do something and make sure that this vampire threat finally comes to an end. Again, my problem with this show, it just has too many characters to juggle, and unfortunately, I think my main criticism with Blood Plus, beyond just having too many plot threads that it just can't commit enough time to each of them, is that when it does set up something cool, even if it executes on it, it never really seems to land. The emotional beats just kind of fall flat when it should feel more serious, and I think the show has a major issue where it will do the death or sacrifice fake out, and then 2 episodes later actually kill off the character, but almost every single time that happens, it just makes me go, why didn't you just do it the first time?
Right.
It's really weird. It feels like it likes to waste a lot of time. It feels really padded out. I think there's an alternate universe where the show was 24 to 26 episodes, and was great. Or, not great, but good. But you can just feel the writer's room in this just stumbling, especially towards the end, going, we aren't really sure how we're supposed to give all of these characters proper conclusions. Maybe the worst part about all this is going back. So, the villainess rapes a kid, and it's all in the service of this plot of there's these vampire babies that she's now pregnant with, and they're going to be born into the world. And all of this is set up so that right at the end of the series, I guess spoilers, but it's not, whatever.
Is Nano Striker's situation strikes again.
I feel like the weird parallels within a Striker, especially with the pregnancy. What are we doing here?
Well, it's all at the end. The final episode is basically, wow, main character, are you gonna kill baby vampire Hitler or not?
Oh my god!
Maybe
the show's good.
It's so fucking stupid. I guess technically baby vampire Hitler twins. Yeah, I just don't think that this is a show worth watching. Maybe if you watched it, obviously I watched this with friends because they had seen it when, we were all high school aged, basically. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, that was a dumb show. Let's revisit it. And I think it might be fun in that way. I had friends that were talking about, oh, this character was so much cooler when I was younger. And kind of in that, different sort of vibe and place of maturity and all that. And going back to the same material as an adult, I could see how it's kind of funny, just being oh, this character is just kind of corny now or whatever, that sort of thing. Just revisiting things like that, I think, is always is kind of fun in that way. But yeah, it's just really a mediocre vampire show. My other major thing, and me and my friends kind of talked about this after the credits hit on the last episode, is that the first third of the series has a lot to do with like this big corporation making these vampire creatures as a form of like a military weapon, basically. And what they essentially start to do is they make all of these weird fucked up vampire creatures based off of these vampire mummies that they found somewhere, I think in like Norway. And then they make these super soldiers to fight the vampires, and what they start doing is they unleash the vampires in places and then have their super soldiers get contracted out by the government, and they're making a shit ton of money, both causing the problem and resolving the problem sort of deal. And they're like, there's some cool and interesting stuff there. That goes away towards the end as the diva, who is like the main character's evil vampire twin, shows up, and I described her, well, my friend described her to me when she showed up as like the Joker for like teen girls sort of thing. And she definitely carries out that vibe throughout the early part of that show, and then obviously she does the horrible thing, and then I feel like after that happens, the writers really lean in on her being just the sadistic force that kind of stops being fun and just becomes this malevolent to the point of being just cartoonishly evil that ends up actually being less interesting than the place she started out in. And as more of her, as the show becomes more about stopping her, the corporate politics of it fall behind and become a background element to the point that it's kind of dubious their place in the show. Or their worth in the show, even. It's just really a scattershot story with no real... I don't think it's very consistent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's too many cooks in the kitchen trying to do too many things. None of it really comes together in a way that feels satisfying. And I'm real curious both what that Suda game is now, that I have that background, because again, this is why I opted out in the first place. And also, I'm really curious what the fuck Blood the Last Vampire is like, which we're gonna watch next. I also did learn I was wrong about the Suda game. I think I described it in that first episode as like Blood Plus fans hate it, but Suda fans like it.
Was it the other way around?
No, it's that Blood Plus fans are just kind of indifferent to it. But also, both Suda fans and Blood Plus fans can agree that they wish the original idea for the game that Suda had was able to go through, but I guess Production IG told them no. But basically what the story behind this game seems to be was that Suda was basically put on this game, and they had to make a action game for the PS2 as episodes for like the early parts of the show were coming out. And they weren't given a lot of story stuff to work with. In my personal opinion, I suspect that this show was not planned very well out ahead in advance. So I don't even think the people writing the show really knew where it was going, and was able to give Suda stuff to work with. So he ended up making just kind of a generic action game where you can either play as Saya, the main character from the show, or an original character. And I guess what Suda wanted to do that he wasn't allowed to do was he wanted the Saya route of the game to end with the reveal that you were actually an evil vampire clone and you weren't actually the main character, and then the final fight would have been against the actual main character of the show and she would have killed you. Basically everyone seems to be in agreement that would have been way more interesting than what actually they did with the game, but Production IG was like, no, you can't make a fake Saya for your game, so...
no OCs.
Yeah, I'm curious to get to it because it seems to, even like compared to like Killer 7 and the rest of his work around that time, that one seems to be the thing that is laying a lot of the groundwork, both visually and just in terms of gameplay, for No More Heroes, which I like a lot. So I'm curious how that game is.
Nice.
You gotta also watch Blood Sea to figure out what the fuck Clamp is on.
I have a friend that is going to be doing that, and I'm going to wait for her to report back to me on Blood Sea to see if it's worth watching or not. That Blood Sea was getting live action spin-offs up to like 2020, which I was surprised to learn.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Plus sounds like solid. I say solid. 5 out of 10, but with like. So the ending, I've been sat here thinking like, man, if I was ending an anime on "Will you kill vampire baby Hitler?" and I just love the idea of like one baby Hitler. That's too easy a moral quandary. 2 of them though.
Yes, they're twins.
Can you kill 2 baby Hitlers?
Yeah,
it's double the sin.
Yeah. It does have the unfortunate side effect of characters who I otherwise really like spouting pro-life rhetoric right at the end.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Nothing like...
I love it. I love to watch a Tomino anime.
Nothing like a vampire baby Hitler to draw out who someone really is.
True. I guess aside from that, I played Earth Defense Force 5 with some friends, which Earth Defense Force is a series of, I don't know how to describe other than low-budget action games, that I've known about for a while, but never really thought to check out, and then Humble Bundle had a sale, and one of my friends who's into the series convinced me and a few others to pick up Earth Defense Force 5. That game is just dumb fun. You pick a class, you shoot bugs, shoot down aliens. It's a great time. It's campy intentionally in all the right ways. You get like 4 missions into blowing up giant ants and flying saucers, and then you hear one of your commanders over the microphone go, "I don't think human terrorists are behind this." Fucking incredible.
Perfect.
Yes. Constant radio chatter, and also because me and my friends are a bunch of assholes, we're constantly spamming the in-game communications to sing the weird propaganda songs that the characters have, and shout EDF, EDF. I've been having a good time with that. And
nice.
I wonder if
Ultraman could save the day there.
Yeah, honestly, I need to play more. But I was wondering a little bit if the there are some SSSP vibes to the organization you play as in that game, and I was like, I wonder if that was, at least a little bit of a influence on how this game series starts. I do want to go back and play the earlier ones. It got me curious. But aside from that, and this won't be too long, but Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3's online is back to being alive again, which shocked me. But
yeah, I've been seeing this.
Yeah, so I signed up for the Marvel 3 tournament at Combo Breaker, which is that tournament I've been talking about that I'm registered for the last few episodes. I started playing, and I kept finding ranked games, and I was like, and these are people across the skill. Like, it's not like sometimes when Red, I think you talked about this with Age of Empires. Sometimes you hop online for an old game, and it's like, these are the titans, that this is all they do. I was kind of expecting that, and let me tell you, the skill gap, especially for Marvel 3, between someone who doesn't know what they're doing, someone who kind of knows what they're doing, someone who really knows what they're doing, and the best players in the world is vast and very, very pronounced. I was finding people from, like, all over, like, people that seemed to really just be getting into it for the first time, people that seemed to have never stopped playing. I was having a great time. 3 matches in, I bullshitted out a win with Virgil, and immediately, as soon as the KO hit on the screen, I got the little message that was like, your opponent has disconnected from the match. And I fist pumped, and I went back to being, like, my degenerate gremlin, like, college self, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm back. And I just played ranked for an hour, just enjoying the chaos that is Marvel 3 matches. Which I have a fondness for. It was my first fighting game, taught me so many goddamn bad habits. In most fighting games, there a lot of people, they play fighting games and they I guess internalize this concept of taking turns. It's your turn to attack, and then the other person defends or gets hit. Then it's the other person's turn to attack, or causes the other player to defend, get hit, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. In Marvel 3, when you start to block, you're already at step 1 of the failure process. Like, you're already starting to lose when you're forced to block. it is a wild time, and it just taught me so many bad habits that I've spent probably the last decade of my life unlearning playing other games. But it's been a great time to revisit and just get one over on people with random bullshit that I have learned over the years. So highly recommend.
To be honest,
Marvel never dies.
I still need to intake the lesson of taking turns, because I have a bad habit of like, all right, I'm gonna hit and I get hit again, and like, no, I'm gonna hit this time. Nope.
It sounds like Marvel vs. Capcom is the game for you.
It might
would
be.
Die. I'd probably rather play MVC 1 and 2 over 3, but yeah.
Yeah.
Those are also very good games.
I've lots of people talking up Street Fighter 6 right now. It does look kind of cool. I don't know.
I need to check out that demo. I wasn't able to carve out the time for it, but I'm really excited for 6.
I don't have my PlayStation here, so I can't yet.
I might actually try Tekken when Tekken 8 drops.
I'm also very excited for Tekken 8. The Tekken I have the problem for, which is there's a tweet going around when Tekken 8 was revealed that was like, if you start playing Tekken 7 now, you'll be good by the time Tekken 9 drops. Because so the problem with Tekken compared to other fighting games is that it requires so much legacy knowledge because of how the series has evolved compared to other fighting games. Like, when new fighting games drop for a series, it's almost always, at least partially, a clean slate. Everyone has a bunch of stuff to learn. The systems are different, characters are different, balance is very different. Tekken feels like a perpetual growth, and there's more of a rigid structure there, in part because of how it plays, and there's just not much else like it in terms of even like the 3D fighting game space. So people that got space? Yeah. Yeah. But like people who got good and started learning moves and shit for Tekken 3, a lot of that knowledge still carries over into Tekken 7, and will probably carry over into Tekken 8. So there's just a gulf in knowledge for getting good at Tekken, and it'll take some time. But I do want to give 8 a go.
Yeah, I've seen Maximilian say in like a bunch of his videos that like Tekken has in some ways been the same game since Tekken 5, and so that's where like they want to differentiate the characters through the heat moves to keep things fresh, but also that means that like there's a lot of like players who've been playing since Tekken 5 are just that good at the game.
Yeah.
I like how the announcer of the trailers for Tekken 8 is the person who voices the toys in Zenkaiger.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's all I've had for this week. Mel, what have you been up to?
This past week I had assignments and exams, so I haven't done shit.
Nice.
I guess the only thing I'll say is new Pokemon anime started. It's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, is Ash dead now?
Who knows?
Yeah, they killed him.
The new girl is nice. She's anxious, and she's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to go to Pokemon school in this new exciting region," and then somehow inadvertently gets roped into being the heroine, and she's very anxious about it. She joins an airship team somehow. I don't know where this is going, but it seems
Bochi the Geo dude.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I can't wait for Ash to come back in 10 years as the next boss.
Finally reliving the dream of Gold and Silver in anime form.
Yeah.
Also, I will also just say, hey Sunrise, why do you get 2 Yuri themed Gundam shows this season?
Wait, what? What have I missed? Oh, yes, sorry, I'm so fucking stupid. I'm just like, wait, what does Mel mean? Right, yes, golf.
Tell me about, I was about to say, tell me about the golfing.
I've only seen I haven't seen the newest episode. I'm like, I need to see like the newest episode of both Birdie Wing and G Witch from the past week, but you know, they're both good. They're both fun. I remember in the lead up to this season, I was almost like more looking forward to Birdie Wing than G Witch, and I was like, I wonder why that is. Am I like cool on G Witch for some reason? And then I watched G Witch, I was like, nah, G Witch is good. I must have been crazy. And then I watched Birdie Wing, and I was like, oh yes, this is why I was more hype for Birdie Wing, because it's absolutely ridiculous.
I Yeah, I haven't started any of the seasonals yet, but yes, Birdie
The
Wing.
fucking golf stand powers are in full swing, pun intended.
Hey.
I heard they kept the Penis Life song.
They did.
Yeah, well, they had to, because the thing is, you watch that OP and you're like, well, there are characters in this OP that aren't in the show yet. So,
Oh, is it even the same OP? Like, not even new animation?
I think there's maybe a few stuff that's new, but like otherwise, it's like 80% the same.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Shows don't do that anymore. That's
Yeah.
cool.
oh,
Well,
they should.
Log Horizon did that.
Oh,
Imagine imagine IBO with Man on a Mission for like 24 episodes, and
Okay,
then
that-
season 2 switches.
That would be cool, but also Rage of Dust is the banger.
I like I'm very partial to Survivor myself.
I mean, I like all of the openings that IBO, if I'm being honest. They're all good.
They're very good.
What if the
openings.
whole show had that first ED though?
That would be
Oh,
really,
hell
That'd
yeah.
be amazing. I would have loved that.
Yeah.
It
As
would
a
be the
really-
greatest anime ever made.
I like a lot of those other EDs, but goddamn, that first one, hard to top. And
Yeah.
every time it segues into it,
Yes.
See,
this is good shit.
it's good that like good Gundam shows that aren't Seed was able to do that.
Yes.
Not
Oh,
Atherin
man.
just staring into space in a park, and then the ED trails in. It's like, why? There's nothing impactful with this. What are you doing?
God, I need to get back to We Have Iron-Blooded Orphans at Home, aka 86. I'll do it one day.
I'll also do 86 one day. But yeah, I'm
So
looking
here's
forward-
the thing I've learned about 86 is I've since learned that apparently the show just kind of stops being about the racism.
I think you actually mentioned that last time you brought it up too.
But like that, I'm curious what that becomes after it seems like the author just gives up on that.
I have
Much
to
like the US
assume-
after Obama was elected, it stops being about the racism.
I have to assume, and I don't have to assume, I'm going to be generous and assume that the reason that it stops being about the racism is because it pulls the trigger on the thing that's absolutely going to happen, that has to happen to the Republic.
Yeah, probably.
But, you know, if it's not about the racism anymore and the Republic is still kicking, it's like, what's happening? What are you doing? This was the thing. This was the thing that you had.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of the mysterious Golf Char in Birdie Wing, because he'll probably play a bigger role in the Capcom the rest of season 2. Sometimes
it's so good.
Yeah, sometimes you get Shinichi Ikeda to play like vagabond golf man, and sometimes you get him to play Gilbert.
Gilbert Durandal, yeah, that guy. He seems nice. He seems fine.
He's a nice guy. He's not cooking anything.
Yeah, he's normal.
It can't be helped though.
The Gundam Seed HD remaster now available to watch for free on YouTube.
I feel like I made the right choice.
They keep cycling that one out.
Yeah, don't
Gundam
do it, people listening at home. It's not worth your time.
I watched Seed original with HD, and I was like, "Damn, this show looks bad." And then I watched Destiny SD, and it's like, show probably looks better. Probably dodges bullet watching the HD based on what I've seen. The horny crimes.
They are, yeah. The crimes are major. It's wild. But yeah, if that's all we've got, we can get into Ultraman because we've got some good episodes of Ultraman.
Hell yeah! This is, I think, my favorite session of watching this TV show that we've done so far.
Nice.
Yeah. So episode 10 is called The Mysterious Dinosaur Base. It's a fantastic name for an episode. A dude in full-on mad scientist gear.
Oh wait, before we start,
Go ahead.
so when they do the title drop for the episode card right after the opening, the subtitles misspelled dinosaur, and that made me laugh.
Yeah, they sure did.
Fantastic. A dude in full-on mad scientist gear is feeding his collection of birds, lizards, and snakes in a weird underground cave. He announces it's time to feed Jiras. He goes out onto a lake in the middle of the night and feeds a creature that lives there. We don't get to see it, but it is clearly huge, and the doctor explains the leftovers from Jiras's meal will attract more fish.
As we'll find out, it's also clearly Godzilla.
Yes. But it's important that Jiras only comes out at night when nobody is fishing. Hayata, Ide, and Arashi are sent to investigate the strange boom in the fish population. They launch Arashi in the sub, but Arashi doesn't spot the giant creature and gives the all clear. Muramatsu says they work too hard. Take some time off and enjoy yourselves while you're out there. Meanwhile, Kubo of the magazine Shonen Graph is arriving in the most ridiculous car I have ever seen to interview the mad scientist guy about dinosaurs. She asks about Dr. Nikaido, who disappeared 15 years ago while investigating the possibility that Loch Ness is home to a dinosaur. I am owned once again. It is only at the mention of this that the scientist lets Kubo in for the interview. He explains some extremely incorrect information about dinosaurs.
They sure are. These are just
this
wrong.
Seems like wildly out of date stuff. Like this seems like stuff that's maybe kind of pop culture knowledge of dinosaurs at the time.
Yeah, some of the things that are like not dinosaurs. Some of those things are just not dinosaurs or even lived at the same time. A paleontologist would know those things, but not the writers of the show, I guess.
And also over-explains to the point where it's like, this guy lives and breathes for dinosaurs.
Not enough to know the facts.
The man is the Ichinotani of dinosaurs.
He
yes.
Also, like, his house basically looks like a little cave.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is kind of I'm assuming the underground lab is supposed to be inside of a cave, but like...
Yeah, it basically is a cave, yeah.
The way it's decorated with dinosaur paraphernalia, like, this guy never stopped being 10. I was expecting a race car bet at some point.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised the reporter's car is not his car.
I thought it was supposed to be his car at first. I'm not gonna lie.
Weird. Why is the reporter's car so? Anyway, that's a company car.
It looks like a monster.
Looking at them, then you're like, why can't we have a cool car for our company?
Yeah. For people listening who don't watch the episodes but somehow listen along, the car
One,
is...
don't do that. Watch the show. But two,
yeah, it looks like a monster. It has like teeth and eyes, and it's weird. It's a weird car.
It is a weird car. This fake Ichinotani mentions that the dinosaurs that lived in Loch Ness must be Diplodocus. We get a brief flashback to Nikaido's expedition to Loch Ness, and I lost my fucking mind. He's dressed in the fucking Pith helmet outfit to go to Scotland. It's so funny. I was incredible. It immediately made me think of there's a show. I don't know if this show got across from Britain to North America, but there's a show called Dark Place. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is like a parody horror show that has an episode that's about that's called The Scotch Mist, that's about the invasion of it's like a parody of extremely racist TV episodes, but like focused on Scotland. And there's a rant that the main character goes on about Scotland that is so incredible. I will have to send it to you afterwards, but yeah, it immediately made me think of that. I was losing my mind. Amazing shit. Anyway, Ide chats up Kubo off screen and invites her to go night fishing, which maybe she thought was a euphemism.
Ide scoring more than Ippei ever did, who I guess is also
Absolutely.
just on this episode illegally fishing.
Yeah, Ippei is also in this episode. I didn't mention it, but I did do the Leo click and point. I was like, Ippei, that's him.
Directly answering episode 12's title, our podcast.
Where's Happy? He's right there.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, because the first time they show him, they kind of like do like they're like panning and like show him, and I was like, is that fucking Ippei? And I rewound him like, that's Ippei. It was very cool.
This is what happens when Jin and Yuriko leave him behind. He just gets up to illegal fishing.
They should have got Jun as the other dude in the boat. I was very sad it was not.
Yeah, they should have. If they'd gone fishing together, man, that'd have been great.
Somehow I feel like Jun's actor would have been too much to pay for like a 2-second scene.
Probably. Canonically, this is Ippei to me, by the way. I'm sure it's a different guy.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
IMO, this is
the
just
Ultra
Ippei.
Q canon is that this is Ippei, and he's just what he gets up to sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if Kubo thought that maybe night fishing was a euphemism, but no. Ide takes her out to the lake. What are you doing? Put your clothes back on. It's cold. They witness the scientist feeding Jiras in the dead of night. Though we don't see Jiras itself yet, only the roiling lake as it eats. It's cool. Ide and Kubo follow the scientist to a secret passage into his weird cave where the scientist catches them and holds them at gunpoint. Now that they've seen Jiras, they cannot be allowed to leave alive. The scientist destroys Ide's radio and keeps the two locked up in the cave. Ippei disturbs Jiras during the day, and now the creature is revealed. It's a Godzilla type of thing with a big leathery neck ruff. The squad goes into action. Ide fixes his radio and reports his location. The order on this might be a little wrong, but this all kind of happens at the same time. Ide fixes his radio and reports his location. Arashi holds off Jiras with the spider shot while the rest of the squad free Ide. The scientist demands the squad stop hurting Jiras, a creature he claims to have created and raised for 15 years. And Muramatsu is like, what do you know about dinosaurs? You aren't Nikaido. The scientist takes off his mask, and it turns out it's been Nikaido in disguise all this time. He said he hung up his Pith helmet and adopted mad scientist disguise. He says he values Jiras more than life itself and immediately proves it by getting trampled.
I think the funniest thing here is earlier on when he's getting interviewed, they're like, when he's getting interviewed, he's like, if Nikaido did get eaten by the Loch Ness Monster, it's what he would have wanted. And then I'm just like,
yes,
getting stomped here is what he would have wanted, except he's also having incredible regrets and like 2 seconds before it happens.
Oh, it's so good. Hayata transforms into Ultraman, and we get a pretty cool fight.
Yeah.
First, they show off their skills. They posture by throwing rocks and shooting them. They like puff their chest at each other. And then after a few brief clashes, Ultraman tears off the ruff around Jiras's neck and uses it like a
Godzilla.
matador. Yes, now it's just Godzilla.
I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit. I mean, the genocide thing, but like, Ultraman's a little bit of a prick.
Yeah, I've been noticing.
He's all fucked up.
I've been noticing these episodes that like there's like a cockiness to the way he's been fighting in recent episodes, where he's like it's kind of like a wrestler heel who's just like taunting his opponent, but also there's a degree to which it feels like a cat sadistically playing with its prey.
Yeah, I realize he's supposed to be a hero, but on the degree that he is just fucked up, I mean, I like it. Ultraman is a character.
It is much more interesting. Yeah,
Ultraman is maybe more of a character than Hayata.
The degree
is very funny.
The degree to which they're the same or different person is hard to tell at some points, though. But
I suppose the characterization of Hayata is when he's in Ultraman mode, he's just like, fuck yeah, this is great. I'm gonna tear this one to pieces. Yeah, he uses the ruff like a matador uses a red cape. And then at last, Ultraman hits Jiras with a single deadly punch, and Jiras stands stock still until blood leaks from its mouth and it falls to the ground dead. Ultraman drapes Jiras in the neck ruff and flies away.
It's like
Nikaido
feels fucked up as like a sign of respect, but also what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, Nikaido somehow lives long enough to witness Jiras dead, and we fade to flames. The end. That was pretty sick.
This show got like so much more brutal in the last like 3 or 4 episodes.
It did.
It's so
Yeah.
I'm here for it, and like also again, Ultraman's just kind of a dick now, and I'm wondering. I think they just needed to find this a little bit as they were working on the show, but it's so much more interesting than the earlier stuff. I'm here for it.
The if the birth of Ultraman has showed us anything, it's that Ultraman is channeling the wishes of the children, and what the children want is blood.
The children yearn for violence.
Yes.
Rip him to pieces.
I think someone sent. I think it's you, Mel, showed you sent around the thing from a recent stage play.
Yeah, there was a recent stage play where Ultraman was comforting a young Bolton kid. And he's like, "Hey kid, what's wrong? Why are you alone?" And the kid's like, "My grandpa's dead. I don't know why." And it's just, I don't know what Tsuburaya was intending for there, but so darkly humorous, just because you know what they're referencing, but also
I love the fact that everyone posting. I now that I'm kind of tuned in, because I realized, everyone else is kind of tuned in on the fact that OG Ultraman is just a fucked up guy who's gonna kill some people.
Yes, people made a fan edit where Ultraman was like, "Hey, don't worry, I'll reunite you.
Do you want to go see your granddad?"
We'll reunite you with your granddad, and he's got the laser buzz on his hand.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm in tune with what the reception on this show is, and I agree absolutely. This man is fucked up. He's evil.
I will repeat, very Old Testament.
I'm increasingly of the opinion that if Hayata became a salaryman, he'd just be living out American Psycho.
Oh my god.
See, I think it's honestly kind of even funnier though if Hayata's just an okay dude, but then as soon as the Ultraman thing happens, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and he just becomes biggest prick.
Ultraman is like, "Hey, I'll give you my life, except I'm also just incredibly sadistic.
We're gonna fuck shit up, dude."
The idea of Ultraman whispering in Hayata's ear when he's in human mode, like, "You could kill that motherfucker. You could do it.
We're gonna rip this one to pieces like a gummy bear, limb from limb."
Yeah. I like this episode. Like I said, I lost my mind at the Scotland bit. I was like, "What?"
It's okay. Okay. It's okay when they do it to European countries.
When a Japanese guy wears a Pith helmet to go visit Scotland, that's not offensive. That is just funny.
Yes, I like the comic book like I don't know the proper term for the dots, but you know what I mean, right? Like the comic book.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was intentional, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't just that your footage was fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really confused because I was like, this looks weird. What the hell?
It looks bad, but it's very funny.
I liked the fight. I think this week in particular, we get to see the fights get more focus and they're better, and I wasn't just kind of scrolling my phone.
I have some knowledge for all of us to enjoy about who directed this episode and the episode we're about to discuss.
Oh. So
this was directed by Kazuho Mitsuda, who directed 2 Ultra Q episodes. The first one being Episode 21, Space Directive M774.
All right.
Oh.
And the second one being Episode 26, Blazing Glory.
Oh, shit.
Hell yeah.
So, interesting to note, so Episode 21, Space Directive M774, was shockingly the very first thing that this guy ever directed. Originally, Hajime Tsuburaya was set to direct that one, but because of logistical reasons, it was hard to read because, again, I'm relying on a machine translated sources for this, but there was an international or overseas shooting thing that Hajime Tsuburaya was also scheduled to work on, so he just didn't have time for the M774 episode. So he assigned Mitsuda, a complete newcomer, to direct the episode instead. Also interesting is that he is often credited as one of the original creators of Ultraman, somewhat lending credence to our idea that Space Directive M774 episode set the stage for what was to follow in terms of the just general idea of Ultraman.
Yeah, that's cool. Nice.
Coming out swinging with if these are some of his earliest directorial works, though, holy shit, he's killing it.
Yes.
Yeah, and you said he
absolutely.
did the next episode of the show too. So
Yes.
11 and 12. Okay.
Nice. Well, unless we have anything else about episode 10, which I thought was just good.
Yeah.
It was just I liked one the team had stuff to do, which was nice. The team increasingly relevant to the show.
Yeah. So
Yes, I like that too.
so like we're still like in the first batch of like episodes filmed because like it was like 13 episode blocks they did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they like figure out as they go along.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the order is like the same between episodes, like production versus
Right.
airing order.
But,
But
yeah,
I assume
you can definitely see them kind of getting a bit more used to it.
yeah, but I have to assume that because one they were like basically airing like they were still getting the show ready before the show actually aired. Like there's probably a bit more. They're probably like less reordering of episodes than Ultra Q had, I assume.
Right. That would make sense.
I also between this and I want to say even actually the Rock one that we're about to talk about, these two episodes felt the most like Ultra Q to me in a way too, with
And I
how
mean,
the stories are set up.
I felt episode 13 the same way too. Like I just felt like this entire batch of episodes. It felt like you have like the formula and the squad and the mandatory fights that kind of like frame everything, but there's like still space where they're still doing the Ultra Q thing to a degree.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see the show can still get fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
which is
finally
good.
comfortable enough to start to play around, it feels, which is good.
Speaking of playing around, episode 11 is called The Rambunctious One from Space.
We had
Excuse you, I have the Rascal from Outer Space.
yeah, I
Oh
know
my
too.
god, that's amazing. That's better.
Rascal does not dream of Rascal does not dream of outer space.
Shut the fuck up. Hoshino is out playing with friends and they see a meteor falling.
Is this Hoshino?
I don't. So I assumed it was Hoshino because he said we should take this to the SSSP, right?
I gotta be honest, I didn't recognize.
I
the
don't
actor.
think so. Because
Okay.
at the end of the scene with the kids playing, there's like an adult that steps into frame that I assumed was like an adult figuring out the rock thing, but
So
I don't know for sure.
I thought that adult was the guy.
I also thought
that
the adult was the
steals
guy.
it later.
But I also figured
Oh, that's probably it.
I also think
Yeah.
that if Hoshino was in this episode, we'd know, you know?
This is true.
Like he is like ostensibly a main character, so it'd feel weird that he's just like a guy who isn't like they don't draw attention to the fact that it's Hoshino.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I will stop assuming it's Hoshino when I just see a kid. So a bunch of kids are out playing with friends and they see a meteor falling.
I also want to note that in this opening scene, the exact same music from the Kanagon episode is playing.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice. They go to where the meteor landed and find a strange glowing stone. The kids accidentally discover that when you focus on something you really want, the stone will turn into it, but it reverts back to its normal state when you inevitably lose focus on the object of your desire. They play around with it for a bit, wishing for pianos, cakes, and race cars. Toy race cars. They didn't have the budget. Hoshino eventually decides... Well, I've written Hoshino here again. The kids eventually decide to turn this over to people who know what they're doing. The squad turns over the stone to some scientists who discover that it is possibly alive. They present it to some other scientists. This is kind of broad strokes here. There's like a presentation. They present it to some other scientists and some like reporters and have one of the audience do a demonstration. He has to come within like 2 meters and say that he has to wish for something really hard. And a woman in a wedding dress materializes. Over the moon, the man who wished for a wife takes her arm, but loses focus and realizes he has taken the arm of another man. Comedy. Satisfied with this demonstration, a sketchy guy in the audience who has been showing up as just feet shot out of context, as like a menacing presence, he places a speaker underneath his table before everyone files out, leaving just one person left to clear up. In his car, the sketchy guy announces to the stone through the speaker, "I wish you were a liquid." The stone melts and seeps out of its box. The man then says, "I wish you were a rocket and you would blast off and come to me." And the stone does just that. The man flees in his car, but Arashi is in pursuit and shoots the gate to the car park closed, but not like he shoots the controls. Like, he shoots a beam that presses the button.
I really thought he was shooting at the car and was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The man does a U-turn and bails, escaping with the stone and sending his car careening into the building he had just fled. Now, with the stone at home, what nefarious plot will this man enact with the stone? He will make a monster called Gyango and use it to jump scare the room service.
He's just here to prank people.
Yeah, he's been like this menacing presence this whole episode. And then he gets in and he's like, "I'm gonna scare the shit out of the staff." It's so good. Truly villainous behavior.
My favorite bit during this part is when there's a photographer taking a bunch of like photos of like girls in swimsuits at the pool, and then the monster jumps out.
It's so good. The man then makes the dumbest wish anyone has ever had. Holding the stone in his hand, he wishes for a kaiju-sized Gyango and gets his wish. The entire building erupts as the giant Gyango spawns in. Imagine how many people just got telefragged. Those fucking obliterated. The Gyango terrorizes the area, and the squad shows up to find the man who stole the stone. He is alive somehow, but unconscious. Hayata remarks that while unconscious, he is unable to think of anything else, and thus the stone will not revert to its natural state.
I like what Hayata says in my subs, where he's just like, because he's unconscious, his evil heart got transferred to the monster, speaking with the exact same confidence Ichinotani does.
Yes,
Truly
he does say something about his ill will getting transferred to the monster, but like, it's just like, everyone kind of looks at him like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, he can't lose focus, so the monster's gonna, it's gonna stick
enjoying.
It's like, you don't know what you're talking about, do you, Hayata?"
I'm gonna enjoy this alternative headcanon of Hayata being a disciple of Ichinotani.
It explains the cruelty with which he dismantles the monsters. Where was I? The man is taken to a hospital where he will hopefully awaken, and Hayata takes the SSSP VTOL to pursue Gyango. The SDF deploy heat rays, which blows off one of Gyango's weird rotating ears. And after taking some heavy fire, Gyango successfully tricks Hayata into flying too close and swipes him into the sea. Hayata transforms into Ultraman and the fight begins. This is 2 episodes in a row where the fight gets a lot of focus. Ultraman and Gyango exchange blows, throw each other into the sea, and brave hero Ultraman displays his first act of mercy. I noticed he goes to use the Spacium beam and stops himself, instead choosing to lop off Gyango's other ear, knowing that if he can just hold off, then the man will awaken and the stone will revert. There is no need for murder today. And sure enough, the man awakens in the hospital, and Gyango, holding half a building at the time, maybe people in it, pops out of existence. Ripped those people.
Just some comments on this. I guess you can finish the episode, then we can talk about it.
Sure, it's just a three more lines. Back at base, Hayata remarks that this stone will cause trouble so long as it's on Earth, so he'll return it to space. I mean, Ultraman will return it to space. Yeah, Hayata will ask him to do it. The end.
Yeah, this episode was fun.
Yeah.
Some bits about the fight. I like how like Hayata's underwater and him like Ultraman transforms by uppercutting out of the water.
Yeah.
Yes, that is cool.
And I also like the first person Spacium beam crossarm shot where Ultraman hesitates.
So I think the first person bit is actually, I noted, I think it's next week. Oh, not next week. Next episode.
No, it's this episode.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was also next episode, but like in this episode,
Okay.
you see him like hesitating with the Spacian beam and deciding not to do it.
Okay, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice the first person bit. I only noticed it next episode. I them realizing that that's a cool shot. I was like, that is a cool shot. You should do that. And them just like repeating it. Absolutely fantastic. Keep it up. It's the fact that he crosses his arms. It just makes it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this man isn't the man who commits all the crimes this week. Him getting built up as this menacing presence and then just being like a child is so funny.
It's very good. I also like as soon as he wakes up, the doctor says, "Stop thinking about the monster," which, at least for me, would just make me think about the monster more.
Yes, absolutely. And it works. It's so good.
But I do enjoy, I think this is the first time we've gotten a monster where the solution isn't just like kill it. It's, you know, more of like a endure it or whatever, and then the problem will go away on its own. That was just a little bit more interesting. It shaked things up a little bit.
Yeah. We get 3 flavors of solving the problem with Ultraman this week because of how the next episode tonally. But yeah, this episode I liked. I thought the stone is extremely Ultra Q, extremely fun.
Yeah, it is fun. One, the weird man's just laughing shots when he's pranking.
Oh yeah. He's having the best time of his life and then immediately having the worst time of his life.
Worth noting during that, there's towards the end of that, I think it's actually the final shot of him laughing, it then spins and then transitioned to another scene, and I was like, oh, this is the guy who directed Blazing Glory too. Like, it feels of a piece with some of the transitions from that as well.
Also, really...
I have one note for this director. One note of criticism for this director. That shot of the stairs is weird when you got women in dresses running down it. The multiple women clocking the camera and adjusting their dress. I thought was what I noticed. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Move the camera away a little.
Yeah.
I did like the sequence of like, he's like, okay, rock, turn into liquid. Okay, now turn into a rocket and fly over here. And the rocket just flies slowly over.
It's a perfect plan. It's the perfect crime.
Except for, the gates.
Well, he managed. He got away.
Manage.
He lost his car, though. Rip. He also obliterated everyone else in that building.
How many people died?
Yeah. So many people must have died this episode.
I'm noticing, like, I also noticed, I thought about this after watching the next episode we'll get to, but I feel like more people are dying in Ultraman than ever died in Ultra Q.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 2 billion.
Well, it's difficult to beat 2 billion, to be fair.
I think Ultraman would say they aren't humans, so they don't count.
Oh, yeah,
True,
he would.
Sadly.
He would. God. It's Ultraman. Yeah, he's a bit violent, but we do get that one act of mercy this episode.
Yeah, but I just feel like more civilians are just dying on screen or are being said to have died than in like any of the Ultra Q incidents where I feel like that didn't happen as much. Surprisingly, somehow
they don't even
expect them to.
Yeah, it's not even necessary. It's like they don't talk about the civilians dying that must be dying, but also they don't deny it.
Yeah, the implication is much stronger.
Yeah, but like we also just have scenes where like the monster does just kill a bunch of people, like in the plant episode and in the next episode.
Yes, this is true.
So I know that we talked about how this is the same director as the last episode, but I feel like this is a great time to wrap up our Ultra Q director catch up.
Yeah.
And then also too, because this is a dynamic duo we have discussed before, I've also grabbed some news on some info on the writer for these episodes. Well, not these episodes, but the episodes associated with the Ultra Q director we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured we'd talk about them both at the same time, and I'll just leave this segment blank for a third episode. So the last Ultra Q director who did not return for Ultraman that we need to talk about is Harunosuke Nakagawa, who directed Episode 6, Grow Up Little Turtle.
Yes.
Episode 12, I Saw a Bird.
Fantastic.
And episode 15, Kanegan's Cocoon.
Let's
and of
fucking
course,
go.
all three of those, he collaborated with writer Masahiro Yamada. Let's talk about Nakagawa first. For all three of these, I just said this. His father was a Western-style painter, so he came from a creative family. He worked on a variety of shows. A lot of them seem to just be more like soap operas, like daytime dramas, that sort of thing. He seems, though, to be most remembered for his contribution to Ultra Q, specifically for his episodes because they were remembered by children at the time of being effective cautionary tales against selfish behavior, especially the Kanegan episode.
Yeah.
But then also the other thing that I saw that he seems to have some acclaim for is that he directed the first episode of a TV drama called Can You Cry, which appeared to be, if I'm remembering this right, and it's kind of hard to find information on this in English, this seemed to be a long-running TV series that started, and the whole idea behind it was that it was episodic. Each episode was its own self-contained story, but the same lead actor was a important role in each episode. Like, it was the same guy. But apparently that first episode was really popular and well-received, and he directed it, so... not too much against him, just directed 3 very iconic episodes of Ultra Q, did not return for Ultraman or any of the other Ultra stuff for whatever reason. And then the writer, Masahiro Yamada, who, again, wrote all 3 of those episodes I just mentioned, but then also has writing credits on Episode 5, Pegula is Here, Episode 14, Tokyo Ice Age, and Episode 18, The Rainbow's Egg. He continued on to write episodes for Ultraman, and I believe also Ultra 7. So far, from what we've seen in Ultraman, he wrote Episode 3, Science Patrol Move Out, Episode 6, The Coast Guard Command, and Episode 9, Lightning Operation.
Nice.
From his background, I went down a rabbit hole. He basically worked on a lot of, it seemed like, serialized, pulpy science fiction and horror stuff. So, obviously for Ultra Q, when that came around, he was the right man for the job. This is just kind of his wheelhouse sort of thing. I didn't find too much notable. He also seems to be someone who is mostly remembered because of his contributions to the Ultra series. But a little bit from his background, he was notable for being a member of the Young Japanese Association, which was a social movement that was formed to protest the Liberal Democrat Party's attempted 1958 amendment to the Police Duties Execution Act. At the time, Prime Minister Nobusuke Joshi attempted to revise the law to allow for preventative detention of suspected criminals and to allow for police investigations without warrants.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
At the time, he attempted to... And actually, let me just make sure... Oh, yeah, sorry. Also, too, that was supposed to be Nobusuke Kishi. I had a feeling I had a typo in there because that name didn't seem right. So it's Nobusuke Kishi was the prime minister who attempted to do this. But yeah, so again, preventative detention of suspected criminals and investigations without warrants. He tried... So no, not good at all. He tried to pitch it as an improvement to societal safety, and said that this would be done to bipartisanal benefit. Not surprisingly, this revision was extremely unpopular with the public. Nobody liked this. This was seen widely as a step towards a police state, and the revision was quickly withdrawn. The Young Japanese Association stood out from other societal movements of its time because of how it transcended typical ideological boundaries. While it appears to have started as a communist-adjacent movement, it grew beyond that because this just revision to law was so unpopular. A bunch of young people hopped on board to say, yeah, fuck this. Many of its members either belong to conservative movements as well as the social movement, or they later on in life swung towards conservative ideology. After their victory, again, this revision was extremely unpopular and was quickly walked back. After their victory, the Young Japanese Association appears to have had some involvement with the 1960 security treaty struggle, but they were not really like a major, it didn't seem like they were a major player by that point even. And they just kind of collapsed as a formal movement shortly thereafter because they never really had leadership or much of a shared platform beyond being opposed to controversial things happening at the time.
Yeah, when you've got when you cross the aisle,
yes,
like that, it doesn't last all that long because you don't agree on everything.
Yeah, notably the next line I have written down here.
Enough.
Yeah, the very next thing I have written here is when you have an organization shared by both far left and far right members, once you achieve your primary goal, there's not a lot holding everyone together, and everyone just kind of went their own separate ways.
More people need to hear this, I think.
Yeah. So I went in, again, always a trip going through these histories of the creatives involved with these episodes. Ended up finding not much out about the guy other than, oh yeah, he's kind of, writes like pulpy sci-fi and horror stuff, but was involved and was a foundational member of a very interesting organization in Japanese political history that not a lot is actually written about in English. To be honest with you, I don't even know if in English the proper name is the Japanese... the Young Japanese Association. That was just kind of the translation I found. I don't really know if that's widely recognized. People seem to talk more about the revision to the law and the general public dissatisfaction with it rather than this youth movement. There's just not a lot about it in English, so just an interesting time to read about this sort of thing and get a little bit more of an eye on that. So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah. Well, do we have anything more about episode 11 of Ultraman? I like it.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of good times, episode 12 of Ultraman, I was very brief. I saw the title of the episode and I was like, let's fucking go. Return to the racist pyramid shit. Was Cry of the Mummy. And I was like, 2 weeks in a row, baby. No, I was wrong. Because there are more mummies than just Egypt. We're good. First of all, we get a new title sequence with new silhouettes that are way less menacing than before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ultraman looking much less menacing now he's in the pose that I am familiar with from our podcast logo. A 7,000-year-old mummy has been found in a Japanese cave. Hayata and Arashi visit the cave as the mummy itself is brought out. Arashi remarks that there are funny patterns on the walls, and Hayata's like, probably cave paintings. He is extremely incorrect, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The mummy is brought to a research lab with where there is some like electric Frankenstein type equipment. And Arashi is unnerved by seeing the face of what humans possibly looked like 7,000 years ago. Overnight, some mysterious force telekinetically activates all the Frankenstein equipment, shocking the mummy and reviving him. He strangles a guard and shoots another with yellow beams from his eyes. The next morning, the squad and the police are in hot pursuit of the mummy. Iwamoto, the scientist who found the mummy, implores the SSSP not to kill him. If they can capture the mummy alive, they might be able to learn the secret to how he managed to live for 7,000 years in such strange hibernation. The mummy gets jumped by like 20 cops and fights back.
It's a cool fight scene.
It's a cool fight scene.
It's very good.
One of the cops pulls his gun and shoots the mummy, who fights back with his eye beams. Muramatsu says, the squad has no choice. They will have to use the spider shot. Arashi guns down the mummy as it cries out. Standing over the corpse, the squad concludes that the mummy probably only wanted to return to his tomb, and that all of this could have been avoided if only they had left him where they found him. But the trial isn't over. The cry of the mummy has awoken my favorite Ultraman monster so far, which is a huge dragon, which was in the tomb, which was what the markings were on the wall. This dragon is 2 people in 1 costume. It's fantastic. It breaks out of the cliff face and goes on a rampage. The squad deploys to face the dragon. Arashi shoots it in the eye with the spider shot, and the dragon shoots back with the same eye beams as the mummy. But Arashi is safe beneath a force field, the product of Ide's newest invention, the barrier field. Unfortunately, he's not immune to giant rocks, as he gets knocked out by rubble from the dragon's rampage. Hayata is sent to distract the dragon while Ide shoots the dragon's other eye with the spider shot, blinding it. Hayata runs behind a rock and transforms into Ultraman. It's a really funny shot. He literally jumps, hides behind the rock, and then his arm just springs out from behind it with the beta capsule. It's good. Ultraman engages the dragon, and so ensues another solid fight, 3 in a row. In this one, Ultraman briefly rides the dragon. it's so good. And then when he's thrown off, there's a cool... Yeah, there's that first-person shot we talked about last time, that sort of over-the-shoulder, almost first-person shot of Ultraman aiming the Spacium beam. The crossed arms pose lends itself to that kind of thing. Ultraman shoots the dragon with the Spacium beam, and it dies. Rip. Then the most important part of the episode happens. Ultraman flies away, does a quick look behind him to make sure no one's looking, and shoots out a beam ring which hovers just above the surface of the mountain and respawns Hayata. This is how he does it.
I'm a little sad that we know now, because it's kind of funnier to not know, but also I laughed when we finally get to see how he pulls this off.
The thing is, in future Ultraman shows, they never show this, so I was shocked to actually see it.
Oh, that's funny.
I like the fact that they realize that it's funnier if they don't explain it. Fantastic. Yeah.
Lost knowledge.
It's ridiculous. Iwamoto, the scientist, finds the squad and with regret realizes himself that neither the dragon nor the mummy had to meet such bitter ends if only he hadn't found them and sought to unearth their 7,000-year-old secrets. The next most important thing in this episode happens as Ide peers at Hayata waving from the mountain and says out loud, "Yo, is he Ultraman?"
I was shocked that we got that much from any of these episodes. I was not expecting that.
Ide maybe being the smartest person, as we find out he's both an inventor and the only one noticing Ultraman.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm gonna be honest, I spent weeks going I remember from the birth of Ultraman that one of them was an inventor. Which one was it? It can't be any of these people. I was like, oh, Ide, of course. Perfect. This is a great episode.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
I tweeted this part yesterday, where they're just like, "Oh, please don't fucking, please try and keep the mummy alive." And Arashi's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'm not trigger happy." I'm like, "You fucking lied." And there's that point where I noticed, I feel like in almost all of my notes, I just type as habitually without realizing Arashi starts blasting in at least once an episode.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's Arashi's whole character. He just wants to shoot shit. It's great.
He really loves his spider shot.
Ide enabling Arashi's gun-toting habits is great. Him just being like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a force field so you can just be the tank.
I know I brought it up last time, but them shooting the monster to blind it, I was just like, oh damn, this is Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
it's really
they manage.
It's really brutal,
bloody as well.
Yeah.
It
does feel weird. I don't know if this is intended, but just the way everyone is like, oh man, if only they wanted to be left in peace. If only we didn't dig so deep, this wouldn't have happened. And yeah, I get it, but also it's like, oh no, if only we didn't wake them up, we wouldn't have had to kill them. Come on.
Yeah. I do in the kind of Ideon space of did we have to blow those people up?
Yeah.
Did we have to do that? Maybe no, maybe not. I feel bad about it. That's about the most you're gonna get out of me.
I'm not saying this as a criticism, but something I would like to see from this show more is we keep brushing up to this idea of, like, peaceful negotiation or, like, this coexistence that could happen with some of these, like, otherworldly threats, and I do genuinely want to see one of these episodes go this far where there is some form of peaceful resolution or compromise. I think would be very interesting, and I feel like we'll probably get there. You know, there's only so many times you beat up the monster where one of these writers is bound to go, hey, what if we become friends with the monsters instead, and like it goes away again or something.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what that finally looks like.
I mean, I know that like future Ultraman stuff does have more of that in it, because I feel like you wouldn't get far if the entire franchise is just Silverman ruthlessly murders monsters all the time.
Yeah,
there's part of me that does like the idea that the rest of the franchise is normal, but this series is just absolutely murderous.
Absolutely, it's very funny.
Yeah, I'm just wondering at what point they start developing those ideas and it becomes more part of the franchise.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
I mean, yeah, well, we might see it as part of like the batches that they do. They might cotton on. They might realize that maybe sometimes the kids the kids didn't want that poor thing to die.
I really enjoy the idea of the other Ultra like heroes to come afterwards, looking back on OG Ultraman and going, "That guy's a little fucked up. We're not inviting him to the party."
we will take his name and add our own to the end of it, but
yes.
Oh man.
So when we get to Ultraman Ace, the asexual Ultraman, we'll get to figure out
every Ultraman title take very literally.
Yeah. Oh no! Jesus Christ! This is my gimmick now, huh?
Yeah, this is what it is.
Shit.
all right.
What's the new one called?
Blazer, the one that's coming out in July.
It's either gonna be on fire or it's gonna wear those ridiculous blue jackets.
Yes.
From
presenting at E3.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wait, no, that's dead now. Never mind. Rip.
Oh man.
It's okay, we'll find out. We'll find out in 10 years.
Jesus. But yeah, I do like that this episode is just about like, man, we fucked up. This didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
We could have just left it well alone, and it would have been fine.
Some real Doug Deep shit.
I do enjoy too how it wasn't. Like, the guy even says before the fighting escalates, if I remember, like, hey, please try not to kill it. And then at the end it goes, oh, we had to kill it. And I kind of enjoy how... Because I feel like we've gotten a bit between Ultra Q and Ultraman, just, like, person with bad intentions who then learns a harsh lesson. And this is just a little bit more of a softer variant of that, where he did fuck up. There is... definitely human mistakes being made here, but it's more of a sad thing for everyone to lament together rather than teaching an asshole a lesson.
There's also like a complexity to his request for them to not kill it that I like, which is that doesn't have the best intentions for it.
Oh, absolutely.
He's like, we want to learn. We want to research.
There's an alternate timeline where this becomes a Blood Plus.
Honestly, yeah. Same vibe.
Yeah. Also, haven't really mentioned it. The mummy is so cool.
It's cool. I do like
his eyes in the middle of the night.
Right at the start, the guy goes, "Oh, this is what old humans looked like," and it's like, no, we didn't have bat ears. Our eyes did not glow like this.
So you like this mummy, but you don't like M1. I see how it is.
Yep, that's how it is. M1 get fucked. Join the M1 hate club.
Pay to see Ultraman rip M1 limb from limb on the moon.
M1 offense squad. Oh no.
We are the kids in the crowd at the birth of Ultraman. We want to see them destroyed. Except Canagon. When Canagon turns, if Ultraman is kicking the shit out of Canagon, that's gonna be like. I mean, the thing is, Ultraman would just kick a puppy. You would just. So I'm not putting it past the show.
See, Kanagan has been in both he has to show up at some point, right? I'm kind of terrified for him now. I'm rooting for the little guy.
I don't actually know for sure. Well, obviously, I wouldn't say either way, but yeah, I don't know for sure. But I guess we'll see.
Maybe he'll show up, name will be like fucking Robert or something after fucking Chandler. I'm expecting. I don't know anymore.
The fact that we got a monster that wasn't Pegula, but was just Pegula.
Yeah, they just added some horns on it and called it Chandler.
It's fucking
yeah. It's so weird. But I did like that Michelin Man Godzilla.
Sometimes a new monster every week means doing the Dragon Quest route of cloud swaps.
Yeah,
yes. different colored slimes.
Let's see how many times you can make a monster out of the Godzilla suit.
Yep. Many times, it turns out.
At some point I'm gonna need to go back and continue my Godzilla marathon, and I will get to the walrus at some point in those fucking movies, and I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind.
Yeah. I need to get back to
I need to get back to watching anything.
Yeah. Besides Ultraman, we're already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job, except we don't get paid for it.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I like this episode. I think the dragon is so funny.
The dragon is really good.
That it loops back around from the dumbest shit I've ever seen to the most amazing. Just Ultraman riding the dragon.
It's so good. They just really having fun with these fights.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of Ultraman. Do you have any details about who made this episode?
No, this was Hajime Tsuburaya, so I just used it to cover the Ultra Q director and writer dynamic duo.
I mean, so
I got nothing anymore on production side of things.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably still mention as the episodes go who the writer director is, even if we cover them already. Just be like, hey, this guy also did this.
Yeah,
Hajime, thank you. It was a good episode.
Curious to see how he takes the franchise over when his dad dies.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
7 guys.
We'll find out.
Oh no, that's its return, right?
Yeah, he returned.
No, that was Tsuburaya's final gift was the 7 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah. We'll find out in I don't know, September, October or something.
Something like that. Cool.
This fall.
Do you have any? Yes. Do you have any? Do you have the timers on this week's? This week? I expect they're longer this week.
Yeah. Episode 10 is 3 minutes 35 seconds. Episode 11 is 4 minutes 15 seconds.
Is that a record?
It might be.
I think so.
Episode 12 is 12 minutes 15 seconds. 2 minutes 15 seconds. What am I saying?
I was about to say,
Jesus Christ.
I didn't count for episode 11. I didn't count this part where Ultraman goes into space because I'm like, that's just like 10 seconds at the end. I'm not counting that.
Yeah. That
also
yeah,
it's
that
different.
the first 2 fights quite extended this week. Yeah. Good week for Ultraman.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah.
I think next week we're covering like the last episode from the first batch of filming, and then we're in the second batch.
We might.
I'm very curious to see.
On the suit.
I'm very curious to see how much it's felt in the episode, the second and third episode.
How much the ridiculous amount of money the show made immediately.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that'll be, man. The idea of making Ultra Q, which is like so expensive and like a huge hit, and then everyone just being like, "We'll do it again," and Tsuburaya's like, "What do you mean, do it again?"
And then he
did it.
Made more money immediately.
Yeah, man, just knocking it out of the park. Which has got to feel like a somewhat difficult pill to swallow. Is like, yeah, sure, I'll make your stupid show that I have to make with this absurd amount of money on like the shortest amount of time in the world. Oh yeah, sure, we'll do it. It'll be a disaster, and then it's not a disaster. It's like, fuck.
It is.
I would like. I can imagine half hoping that it failed.
I mean, hey, managed to be a big enough success to still be the entire foundation of the franchise.
Yeah.
I am curious when we get to the first one that flops. Because, like, you know, the bigger they are, harder they fall. I'm curious to see which one of these is the one that capital P problems start to happen, you know?
I mean, not to, like, get ahead of ourselves, but there is a break between Ultra 7 and Return of Ultraman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the idea of Ultra 7 being a flop is so sad to me. It looks so weird.
We'll get there.
I have a feeling we'll still be good on that one. I don't know. I know nothing about the history of that show or its reception.
The thing is, things can flop in their time, and retroactively, like, no, people at the time were just dumb. This is actually good.
Yeah,
there is a world, there is a timeline that gets 100 episodes of Turn A Gundam. I want to live there.
Yeah, we're Gundam fans. We're used to shows like X being shafted, even though they're actually the best ones.
That's a very good show.
Getting shafted was the best thing that could have happened to X. To be fair to that middle section, which is extremely dry. It really picks up once it's cancelled.
Just like American Prometheus, baby.
Fuck off. God damn. All right.
American Prometheus also wishes he had a magic rock wife.
Oh, so when the kids kiss the bird in the mouth, it's a problem, but when it's a rock wife.
That's normal. That's fine.
Yes.
That's acceptable. Mel, do we have any emails?
We don't this week.
That is okay.
But you can email us at ultraqpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. You can follow the show at ultra_q on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at gender_redacted. I'm still posting. I haven't posted in a bit, but I'm still posting about my falling down an RTS hole on co-host. The fall will continue from Command and Conquer onwards. But yeah.
You should play those Dune games at some point.
I should.
First one is very... So everyone talks about the second one because it's like the big RTS like starting point, but that first one is like a weird hybrid adventure game strategy thing, and I don't know if it's good, but it's very interesting.
I should do that. That would be good.
We've talked a shocking amount of Dune on this podcast, and I would like to see it continue.
Yeah.
Excellent. But yeah, that's my plugs. Who's going next?
You can follow me at Rosenbrand on Twitter. I'm also Rosenbrand on YouTube. I'm making videos again. Yay. I expect some Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 match footage. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I got some good matches in, and I conveniently recorded them with the PS5 share feature. So
what's the playlist? Back Alley Knife Fights?
Back Alley Knife Fights. It's returning.
Excellent.
And I'm going to have more on that. And hopefully I'm going to... So I've been focusing a lot on Marvel 3 because that's kind of the one I'm putting the most time into training-wise. But I also don't want to be bad at Under Night or Melty Blood, so I need to put in some more time with that. Might have more of that in the chamber. I also learned that I can't seem to back out of my Guilty Gear Strive registration that I initially had, then wanted to replace with Marvel. So I guess I'm going to have to kind of practice for that too, because I guess I'm committed, so whatever.
Oops.
You don't have to be good at everything you sign up for, so...
And is one mention of Under Night enough to slap an Under Night track at the end of this podcast? We will see.
Oh, hell yeah.
Finding excuses to put songs that aren't from Ultraman at the end.
Well, Ultraman doesn't have outro
Have you
credits,
heard the
Nanase...
Have you heard the Nanase Bicorn theme?
You're not putting out the image.
What's the Nanase Bicorn theme?
I'll send you something after we're done recording.
Nice. Mel, any plugs?
My sometimes Twitter is at Dear Crowns. I'm also on Twitch, Cosmic_Crown. That's all I got, really.
Nice. All right. Well, join us next time for 3 more episodes of Ultra Q. That is
Ultraman.
Fuck. Old habits. Join us next time for 3 more episodes of Ultra Q. That is...
You did it again.
13. Oh, fuck. Oh, boy. Oh boy. Let's wrap it up. It's 3 more episodes. You know the show. 13, 14, 15. Ultraman. We're watching Ultraman. Goodbye. I have to go.